Welcome back. You are watching Weekend Today. Well, do you feel like your iPhone is listening to you? Apple's latest iOS update has confirmed our worst fears. A new privacy feature on the home screen will light up when apps are accessing our cameras and microphones. To explain more, we are joined by security expert Daniel Lewkovitz. Daniel, good morning to you.
Morning,
really
Beth.
interesting
Morning,
topic. The orange dots and green dots, which are, you tell me, do appear up here when something's happening. What do they mean?
Okay, so Apple have rolled out a new feature with the latest version of their OS. Now, the first thing is anybody who's got an iPhone or an Android or any phone should always be running the latest software update because it closes security holes and so forth. Now, if you've got an iPhone that's later than an iPhone 6, it's newer than that, and you update it, you'll start getting this new feature. And what it essentially means is that whenever the camera or the microphone on your phone is active, Apple tells us that they will be displaying what they call an indicator. It's essentially a little red or green dot at the top of your screen, just next to the Wi-Fi indicator. And its purpose is to tell you that the camera or the microphone is active, which means if you're expecting it to be because you're recording something, you're taking a video, you're filming something, not a problem. But if you're just using a Facebook app or reading something and you see that icon there, that's supposed to prompt you to think, hang on, that doesn't make sense. And then you can go to the control center and try and work out which app was recording and then start asking the hard questions as to why that might be the case.
Okay, so it's true. There's apps and whatever that are listening to us.
Absolutely. So there's two problems here. The first one is Apple are really trying to present themselves as champions of privacy, and they're saying privacy is a human right, which I think we'd all agree with. But the problem is historically a lot of these big tech organisations, Google, Apple, Facebook, who assured us that microphones weren't listening on home devices or on phones or on apps and everything was safe and secure, subsequently had to apologise and say, oh, oops, actually we were listening. And so that was terribly embarrassing. So what Apple is now trying to do is sort of champion themselves as keeping all of the app developers honest. Now, in the case of the Apple ecosystem, apps that were in the foreground couldn't tell you if they were actually recording something. It was only when they went to the background that you'd see that indicator. Now any app will work. So if you have, for example, a game on your screen that has no business listening to your microphone, if you see that record icon appear during a game, you can actually complain about the developer or just lose the app. So that's really good for privacy. As long as people actually pay attention to it and they start focusing on their own privacy and realising, if you just ignore that little dot, of course it's not going to do anything for your privacy or security.
All right. How does the iPhone compare to Androids when it comes to privacy?
So Apple has a bit of a history in this area. If you have an Apple MacBook or an iMac or one of the desktop computers, for many, many years they had a little green LED right next to the webcam. So a lot of people would put bits of sticky tape or little flappy things over the webcam. But the idea with Apple computers was the webcam physically couldn't power up unless that light was on, which would tell you that the camera was on. What they're trying to do is recreate that experience on a mobile device, except of course it doesn't have the LED there, so they have to do it in software. Android has had a lot of its own privacy features for quite some time. When you install a new app, rather than just giving it permission to do everything, it will ask you, do you want to give it permission for location? Do you want to give it permission for camera, for audio and so forth? Apple tended to be a lot more permissive in that regard, and so now with the new OS update, they're tightening that down. One of the other features is you can give apps a general location of where you are rather than your specific location. So, for example, the weather app might want to know what suburb you're in or what city you're in. It doesn't need to know what house you're in. Whereas if you were ordering, say, a rideshare service, that would obviously want to know, a much more accurate location.
Yeah. All right. Really interesting stuff. Thank you very much, Daniel.
Thanks so much.